Today we're going to be auditing a Facebook ad account spending $500,000 monthly to $1.5 million per month, where we'll be calling out exactly what they're doing wrong and ways that they can improve upon it. Where we will be covering exactly what ways you can structure your account for scale, how to simplify, prevent overlap, the best audience targeting structure, the bidding strategy that works best, so that way you can be able to scale up your spend. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Chappell, and we work with some of the largest creators and brands in the world where we manage their Facebook and TikTok ads. And over the last 7 years, we've generated over $1 billion in sales for our clients. So let's go ahead and take a look at this ad account and audit exactly what ways we can improve upon it. All right, so here we are inside of the ad account, and we're looking at this month from April 1st to the 22nd, where they've spent roughly $606,000 so far month to date. And there's going to be a few things that we want to immediately pay attention to. When you're trying to scale up, whether it's to 50K monthly, 100K monthly, 300K monthly, and you're curious to know how far could you really scale, well, there's definitely levels to this, and you'd be surprised at how much you can truly spend. It is very possible to get to the $1 million month spend level and still be profitable. But ways to do that can come at cost, meaning if you don't have the right structures in place, you're automatically hurting your ROI, your return on ad spend, and are preventing yourself from being able to truly get the most amount of sales possible. And so when we look at this actual structure on the ad set level, we'll notice there's a ton of ad sets being ran currently. We definitely don't want this many ad sets when we're scaling. When you're spending more than 50K monthly or trying to go to 100K monthly, you really only need about 4 campaigns. There's going to be a campaign dedicated to lookalikes, interest, and another campaign for retargeting, maybe your post purchases as well. Within that, you might have only 2 to 3 ad sets per each to really achieve the scale you're looking for. The more ad sets you have, the more likely it is that you're going to have overlap between audiences, and you're going to be very competitive with your bids. You'll see that they have an absolute ton of active ad sets, and it's just not necessary to have this many. There's definitely audience overlap between this, and you don't want to be super specific with your targeting when you're spending this much. You really want to go broad with your audience targeting. Another thing I immediately notice is they're in learning. Most of the time, if you get 50 purchases within 7 days, you can exit learning. If you're spending $500,000 per month, you should have already exited learning. If anything, you can exit learning after spending $30,000 a month if you have the right campaign structure in place and you're not making significant edits. That's a big factor because exiting learning can lower your cost per purchase and keep it more consistent. It can lower the cost per purchase by up to 20%. Not only that, but you're gonna see less fluctuations. And when you're spending more and more dollars, the last thing you want is to be seeing a lot of fluctuations because your business is scaling. You need consistencies. You need to know when to order more stock. You need that predictability. So you should have definitely exited whenever you're deciding to scale. And if you're spending $1,500 daily or $500 daily, and you're still in learning, then you should definitely leave it alone. Don't make any changes, don't make any edits, so that way you can actually exit at this point. Because it does make sense once you're at scale to exit learning. And as you can see, like this one has 167 purchases and still hasn't even exited. And that's likely because they're adjusting the audience or ads, they're making changes too frequently. When you have this scale of account, you really don't need to be making that many adjustments. It should be running on its own. And you really only need to be making budget tweaks or adding in new ads to keep the actual creative refresh happening. Not much else should be happening on the audiences. You should already know what audiences work at this point. You should have a handful of them that are producing sales for you, and you should really be scaling those up. Another thing that I noticed here is the budget is set on the ad set level. Realistically, you should be at CBO at this point and allowing the campaign to decide where to put the budget for you. If you're spending over $1,000 daily, CBO is going to be much more effective than you are at the ad set level because it's spending enough money to where the system can automatically know where to put those dollars to get the best ROIs. And if it's on the ad set level, then you're missing a lot of opportunities. For instance, we have a broad audience here at $750 daily, travel and hotels at $1,500 daily. This one's at $419 cost per purchase, which is absolutely way too high. And then this one's at $166. If this was a CBO, this budget would have already been shifted over to travel and hotels and would have seen a much better cost per result over the long run. And the more sales that audience gets and the more consistent it is, the better the cost per result will be. So that is a big thing for CBOs. You want every campaign to be on CBO except for retargeting. The reason you want your retargeting to be on the ad set level is because it's segmented and you want to show specific ads to specific people. You don't want all of your budget going towards just page views, for instance, when you could be retargeting add to carts, you could be retargeting post purchases. That does need to be segmented. But your campaign For interests, lookalikes, anything with broad audiences that has nothing to do with retargeting, that should be set on the campaign budget optimization. And that essentially just means having your budget located here rather than on the ad set level. And so let's go ahead and look at some of the targeting. All right, so now we're in the audience targeting section. And when looking at one of their audiences, they haven't accepted the custom audience terms, which definitely can affect deliverability because you want to make sure that you accept this so that way your custom audiences can adjust. As we scroll down, we'll see that they've stacked a couple of interests in here. And so their audience size is a little bit bigger, but there is one concern. They're doing manual placements. The last thing you want to do when spending, tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not $1 million per month on Facebook ads, you don't want to limit your opportunities because there's only so many people you can reach at any given day, and you need to maximize the amount of spend you have going out so you can reach as many people as possible and get as many opportunities for somebody to purchase. And if you're capping yourself at Facebook and Instagram and then limiting yourself to only in feed, then you're missing out on a huge wave of audiences, meaning other advertisers could be outbidding you or their creatives could be performing better. And because you're limited to this feed, you're not even delivering on these other sections, which is going to raise your overall cost per purchase and severely limit your overall results. You should never be limiting your placements at all. It should always be Advantage Plus placements because you want to maximize your overall results. I can assure you, if you use Advantage Plus placements, you're going to see way better results, more consistent results, and the system knows how to optimize for you. It's not going to spend on things that aren't getting sales. If a placement doesn't work, Facebook's algorithm understands not to spend money there. It will shift it to the places that does get the results. So this is really the best thing to do is have Advantage Plus. Don't ever use manual placements, especially when you're scaling up. And same thing here, another audience where they're doing the home improvement space, multiple audiences, and once again, manually selected placements. This time, these are a little bit different, and they've selected different placements. Once again, doesn't really make sense or why they would be doing this. It's really just looks like totally random selections here. Once again, needs to be Advantage Plus. And if anything, these two audiences here are likely overlapping to some degree. If these were combined, this 80,000 in spend and 38,000 in spend so far for the month, it would perform much better. And combining these budgets would allow it to scale, and you would see much lower cost per result because you wouldn't be competing with yourself. Overall, it would just be a much better performing campaign. A few things they need to do is consolidate these audiences into just maybe 1 to 3 audiences that are truly at scale, where the budget's set at the CBO level, where they're spending $10,000 to $30,000 a day on one specific campaign rather than splitting up their budgets across multiple ad sets, which is causing overlap for sure. They need to consolidate their campaigns to just 3 to 4 and name them based off of retargeting, lookalikes, interest to keep things consistent. They need to be more broad. They need to use audiences where they're not selecting manual placements. And when we look at the retargeting audiences, they have 2 active retargeting, one for all purchasers and another one for engaged, stacked, updated. They're spending about $1,000 between both of these. So that's roughly about $30K they'll spend for the month. In comparison to them being on pace for $1 million spend for the month, $30K is really not that much for the retargeting. They should be spending a lot more on retargeting to capture all of the page views, ad engagements, people interacting with their organic posts to increase their sales and having very segmented audiences for retargeting to guide the customer along through the process. Because when we look at the audience, we'll see once again the terms haven't been accepted, so these audiences aren't going to be fully adjusted correctly, but they've stacked their page views and add to carts and their non-customers. Essentially all of their audiences are stacked here. Now this could be a strategy to be able to get more scale out of this, but in reality they would see much better results having these separated because you could have unique messaging for add to carts, unique messaging for page views, and people who've engaged with the page as well as people who've already purchased. Because when you're spending this much, you're going to have a large enough audience pool. They likely have, hundreds of thousands of add to carts. So the audience size is definitely large enough to be segmented on its own and get enough scale out of it. Not only that, but they've selected Advantage Custom Audience, meaning they're essentially allowing the retargeting to turn into a prospecting audience if they can't get sales, which defeats the purpose of this. It makes it a non-retargeting. It's not even really a retargeting audience. It's honestly a prospecting at this point because they're essentially allowing their retargeting to go after people who've never seen their ads before. And so this skews their data, doesn't give you the full picture, and it really limits their opportunities for sales. So that is definitely something you don't want to do. You want to segment that out. And then it doesn't make sense to have exclusions of all website visitors last 30 when you have a 90-day page view in here. Like, you're basically not showing ads to anybody who's viewed your product or added to cart in the last 30 days, but you're showing it to anybody further than that. So that's a huge missed opportunity. You could definitely be getting a lot more sales just by only excluding purchases rather than excluding your website visitors. That's going to limit your audience pool significantly, because it's likely, probably 300,000 to a million people have visited the site just in the last 30 days. So that is the retargeting audience, and that could definitely be improved significantly. And you can see here the 30-day visitors was performing very well at half the result, but it was turned off. As to why, doesn't really make sense. It should be on, because no audience is actually targeting that right now. And then when we look at the post-purchase, this audience is doing really well. All purchasers makes sense because it's returning customers. They should be spending a lot more on this. Your returning customer pool is a huge opportunity to get people to come back and buy multiple times, buy for friends, buy for family, and you can achieve a lot of scale out of this. Overall, this account could use a much better rehaul and tuning to achieve scale. While this account might be profitable and have the right lifetime value to get customers coming back, and it makes sense at scale, they could still be achieving potentially anywhere between $250,000 to $500,000, even $1 million in additional sales just by making these tweaks and not adjusting their spend. So when you're looking to scale, it's always important to know what the right structures are, making sure you're broad enough so that way the system can allocate for you, and knowing when to cut things and when to segment audiences in your retargeting is very important, especially if you're looking to scale your business the right way and doing it in a manner that makes sense based off of data. Now, I know these numbers might seem big or out of reach, but it's good to know where the pathway looks like in the future, and even know that some of the largest brands in the world still haven't figured out Facebook ads altogether. Some of you are managing ads at a much smaller scale and achieving better results than even these brands. So you'd be surprised that the competition can not only not have a good awareness around how to structure their campaigns, but honestly might just be spending to acquire customers because they have those resources, which opens up a huge opportunity for you to adjust your strategies, implement exactly what we talk about in these videos to get that competitive advantage and be able to scale up and take over markets. And if you're watching this video and wondering how you can get our guidance one-on-one, then you should definitely click the link below this video to book a call with myself and team to see if you qualify for our one-on-one ads mastery mentorship. Inside of our mentorship, we work one-on-one with you, going over exactly what pain points you have with your Facebook, TikTok ads, even your organic social media posts, to increase your sales, increase your ROIs, lower your cost per acquisition, and increase the overall lifetime value of your customers. So that way you can not only scale up results, but make everything work in sequence much better. This includes optimizing your site, what exactly the targeting you should have, the copy, and the overall creative and what those videos should look like. So definitely make sure to click the link below this video to book a call with myself and team, or feel free to DM me on Instagram at RealChaseChappell, the word mentor, where I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So there you have it. These are the exact strategies that we work with, whether you're a brand that's doing 6 figures, 7 figures, or even 8 figures in sales. We've helped clients hit $1 million months, do $200,000 in a single sales day, and even help smaller brands go from 10K to their first 50K month, even 60K to their first 200K month. There's so many different ways to achieve results, and it's all based off of data. So once again, it's your favorite digital marketer here, Chase Chappell. Cheers and bye y'all.